Hi, this is Dave again, and now we're going to talk a little bit about how Chrysler names its cars. And it's a little weird how they do it sometimes. The results aren't always great, and there are some funny stories along the way, or at least stories I hope that you'll find funny. So let's dive right in. We'll start with a name that famously they had to drop very quickly, the Dodge Demon, which was named by the Dodge sales department, according to Burt Beaucamp, because they envisioned an ad that said, "Come in for a demonstration." Religious groups objected to that, and so the name was dropped. There are a lot of stories about how the Valiant was named, including a contest for customers. Al Bosley, who was in charge of body engineering, remembered that the Plymouth chief's secretary, who he later married, submitted the Valiant name in the national naming contest, which was open to everyone. She wasn't really planning to enter, but she was reading the Sunday comics, saw Prince Valiant, made a connection with what a valiant person is, thought it would be a great name, and turned it in. The Chrysler C300, on the other hand, was named after the 300 horsepower it had, and the name stuck for a bunch of letter cars like the 300B, D, and E afterwards. I don't know how they named the Barracuda, but the joke was that if it had come just a little earlier, we would have called pony cars fish cars instead. Of course, it would have had to be a bit more popular, like the Roadrunner, for example. Now, the Roadrunner story you probably all know already. Jack Smith originally wanted to call the car the CK for Clark Kent, hit the gas, and the mild-mannered reporter becomes Superman. However, the ad agency wanted to name it the La Mancha after the Man of La Mancha, a Broadway musical. Now, Smith then brought up a name originally thought up by Gordon Cherry, Roadrunner, and he got the idea based on his kids' cartoons, and there was silence at the table, and suddenly one man from the ad agency's art department started to shake, and everybody just stopped and watched, and suddenly he sat up and said, "God, I could really do a lot with that." And it was the Roadrunner. I don't think it requires a great deal of thought to figure out where the Charger Daytona got its name, but then, of course, you had the Dodge Daytona, just plain Dodge Daytona, which I suspect was named that because of the similarity in the front's appearance to the Charger Daytona. Then we have the royalty bend, and that starts with the 1933 Chrysler Royal, which is, of course, quite royal, and then we move on, we get the Imperial Crown. A lot of this heats up with the 1939 visit of the House of Windsor, the monarchs of England, and that brings out the Chrysler Windsor, a name which sticks around for quite a while. Imperial, of course, being quite royal, goes on with the theme, and then Dodge starts in, and they get very royal indeed, from their logo to the Royal Monaco. And you have both Chrysler and Dodge having little crowns all over their cars, which starts getting a little bit silly. And then you've got, instead of the Chrysler Royal, you have the Dodge Custom Royal, the Custom Royal Lancer, that is, which is a Dodge and not a Chrysler, despite the name, because Chrysler has always been a little careless with their names. Next, we have the Hotel series, so we've got the Plymouth Savoy to begin, the famous British hotel. We get the Belvedere, although the Belvedere was probably named for a golf course and not the hotel. You also get the Plaza, which definitely was named after the hotel, and the Dodge St. Regis, which was probably named after the hotel, but might have actually been named after the Studebaker St. Regis, although that was a long time before. So right now we're just looking at a Belvedere and then a St. Regis. And then, of course, you have the local areas. So Cranbrook Drive, Concord Street, and Cambridge Avenue are all in the same suburban area. And the Cranbrook School in Bloomfield Hills was a private school which hosted many executives' children. Its school for girls, Kingswood, got its own export model later. And finally, we have Ram, an entire division of a company, or at least an entire brand of a company, named after its own hood ornament, which was sculptured by Avard T. Fairbanks during the Depression. And at the time, there was no Dodge Ram, but that hood ornament, which was created in return for getting a new Dodge, ended up as the inspiration for Dodge's Ram Tough and then for the entire Ram brand, which is pretty impressive, although not entirely unheard of, since Mitsubishi is a direct translation for three of those little shapes that are the logo of Mitsubishi, and Subaru is sort of kind of named for its logo as well. Anyway, so that's me. That's a bunch of Mopar names. If you have more, please send them in or send in comments and let me know.